Well, let's hop in, man. It's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out for the program today.
Of course. Thanks, Joe.
You bet. So let's begin our journey with this. 6 years ago, this pandemic was changing everything.
hmm
How did you get through that era, and how has it changed the way that you work and live today?
Sure. Well, at the beginning of the pandemic, I was a full-time photographer, actually, and videographer, and 100% of my work got canceled and pushed off indefinitely. So I was kind of forced to move towards something else. And I had always been an entrepreneur and trying out new things, but at this point, 100% of my income was taken off the table. So I had to try something new. And actually, what I started doing was I was coaching athletes, particularly combat athletes like wrestlers and jujitsu athletes, how to breathe properly in order for them to have more success on the mat in competition and to be able to sleep better, have more anxiety. So I was working with kids around proper breathing and proper and incorporating some type of meditation and spirituality into their practice that was really helpful for a lot of kids who are just starting to get onto their journey of facing some harder things in life. So, yeah, I started a company called Zen Warriors, and we were traveling all around the country helping athletes and wrestlers with their stress and anxiety levels. And that really brought me into awareness of my own spirituality on a new level. And took that into the work that I'm doing now, which is taking that same breath awareness, but for adults in the dating realm to help, the same nerves that hit you when you're in competition hit you as a man when you're looking to flirt with a woman or put yourself out there, and you're dealing with the same kind of instinctual fears that come up. They're probably illogical fears, but the same ones come up about being cast out from your society, from failure, from, losing the love and attention that you need. And yeah, started to really focus on bringing that awareness of the breath and the body and connection and conscious communication into my work that I do now.
So let's get into the work that you do now. I'm going to put you in front of middle schoolers, and it's career day, and one of the kids wants to know what you do for a living. How do you synthesize your world? Or it can even be for adults, whatever group makes sense. How do
Yeah.
you explain what you do on a daily basis?
Sure. Yeah. If I was talking to a group of middle schoolers, I would really have to smooth out some of the edges of what we do.
Yeah.
So, my partner and I, we work in the field of sacred sexuality. So this is taking something that could be very simple and just friction based and things that are just checking boxes off, and we're taking it to the next level of really adding that sacredness to it. And we work in the realms of Tantra. So I've been trained for many years in Tantra, and that inspires a lot of the things that we do. And for the most part, we work with men and couples, and my partner works with women to establish a deeper level of intimacy, more than most people are aware of is available from them, just from eye contact and the breath and choosing the right words and being in alignment with yourself. Um, Especially with men, we're working with them to help them step into their power in a way that inspires trust. And there's a lot of contradictory advice out there. There's a lot of contradictory expectations of men, and just really helping them stand in their power to ask for what they want and not expect yeses and work within the realms of consent. And there's just a whole new landscape out there for dating now, and a lot of people who are maybe coming out of a divorce or trying to change something up with the dynamic of their relationship. We work with a lot of polyamorous and non-monogamous couples who are interested in that lifestyle. And so yeah, we're helping people open themselves up to more love.
Well, and I think that makes sense because the failure rate for love in this country especially is so high. There's got
Mhm.
to be more. There's got to be, because I think people do go through all of these waves of relationships that don't work, and like we aren't taught early on, other than what we see around us, how this stuff works explicitly. So we're
Yeah.
almost all fumbling through a dark room early on in our lives looking for a light switch.
Well, yeah, and we're indoctrinated to do this escalator of, you're dating and then you move in and then you get married and then
Yep.
you have kids, and there's a lot of pressures to maintain that status quo, and for a lot of people that's not relevant, it's not healthy or helpful for them, and they're doing things that are not in their best interests. So we're helping people, regulate that and understand what they're actually wanting and needing and asking for what they want. Like so many people, their voices are cut short because they are afraid of rejection, or they're afraid of people not being able to understand them. And there's a lot of like instinctual fears, like I mentioned earlier, that are really driving people's desire to stay quiet and not really go for what they want in their love life.
So when you were at that career day point when you were young, what did you want to be when you grew up? What was your dream gig?
Hmm. Well, at a certain point, I wanted to be a professional baseball player, and then I wanted to work in advertising and create a strategy for advertising. And so I did get a marketing degree at Maryland and started working towards understanding marketing and understanding human psychology. And I'm definitely still using those things in my businesses now. But I was always just interested in people and how they interact with each other and the things that get in the way of that. And I love to be a helping ear for my friends, and I've actually been coaching a group of men in a men's circle. We meet twice a month now, and we just talk about the things that men deal with on a daily basis, specifically around love, but that encompasses pretty much everything. So yes, I've been called to work with men and serve them in a way that hasn't been served before, or at least in my experience. So that's kind of been the evolution of that.
So talk to me a little bit about how you early on in your life developed
Hmm.
the skills to get to a point where you're helping people find love and find a deeper connection to each other. What did you see early on? What were the foundational elements that you think were in there that eventually became this calling that you've found in your life today?
Sure. I think it started off from insecurity, from being short. I'm 5'5", and at the time that was really important to me and the people around me. And I made up a story that I wasn't worthy of the love that, taller people had, and everyone has some excuse like that, right? So I really started from a place of trying to build that confidence up. And one of the more formative things that I did to kind of work on that was I took this job in Ocean City, Maryland. There's these guys and women who run along the beach and take pictures of families as they're, playing on the beach. And you got to go up and talk to everybody on the beach, hundreds and hundreds of people a day. And I got rejected a lot. So I learned a lot about communication and sales and being authentic and having fun with it. And so that kind of opened me up out of my shell, and I got a lot of positive feedback, a lot of negative feedback too, but a lot of positive feedback, and that really like launched me to feel like I could experiment a little bit more socially. And so I went to college, and I was able to really like cut my teeth on some things, but I still had this baseline level of insecurity. So I was always working through that, and I took myself through the gamut of crappy advice. I followed some of the pickup artists and tried to be an asshole, and I'm more of a nice guy, and that has its own follies as well. So and I've always been very sexual, actually. So like I've always been like experimenting with my sexuality and coming from a place of this insecurity, and then realizing, oh, wow, there's like so much here that has almost nothing to do with what I look like. And this ability to communicate with people and have them open their heart and trust me is something that I've really been kind of obsessed with, actually. Um, and then further on past that, I realized, oh, I have all this charisma now, and people are listening to what I say. And then this whole Me Too moment comes out where men who are charismatic and have the ability to be magnetic, now they are culturally considered a little dangerous. And so there was this whole shift there that went from, okay, now you're big and bold and powerful. How do we add this element of choice and consent into everything that we do? Because there's this element of, especially women, but a lot of people in this world are kind of indoctrinated to fawn and people please and agree to things that they're not in their right mind without without your charisma, wouldn't choose for themselves.
Hmm.
So then that took on another element where now I'm helping men and helping myself help people arrive at the right decisions for themselves and um, not make it this like competition or have people choose things that are not in their best interest. So yeah, that's kind of where my journey went, and um, all the while doing this photography thing. And one of the big evolutions of my life was being chosen to travel the world with this group of elite, really amazing Tantra instructors. And so they flew me all over the world to film and take pictures of their events. And I really like soaked it up and I loved it. And it it showed me a new side of communication that's entirely energetic. And, your words are energy and your eye contact is energy. And it went so far beyond what you look like. My instructors actually started off teaching paraplegics how to have orgasms when they have no feeling of their genitals.
Wow.
So like that really like blew my mind. Like now I can speak on this whole nother level where we're talking about energetics.
Wow.
And yeah, that opened me up to the world of tantra, and now I incorporate that into the men's work and the couples work that we do.
So, speaking of being around that inspirational environment, when you look at your life, who's been that inspiration for you that's allowed you to navigate through your different vocations to find your true calling today? Who's been that hero?
Hmm. Well, I have really loving, supporting parents. I'm blessed with that, and they've always been really supportive of the work that I do. Actually, my parents in my formative years were swingers, so I had this very unique upbringing where a lot of different lifestyles were very accepted, and so I got a lot of love and acceptance for the work that I do, even when it's non-conventional from my parents. And they're like a perfect like complement to each other. My dad's really logical and he's a doctor and he gives me the reasoning advice. My mom is pretty woo and she loves her spirituality, and they're always like working together to find that middle ground. And I think that's a lot of the medicine that I bring is this mixture of East and West, of woo and science, and finding that middle way. So I have a lot of gratitude for my parents.
For sure. So, let me ask you this. In the one thing about art, whether it's music or paintings or movies or TV, is that it's always orchestrated around love stories. That's always the glue. It sells everything. What's your favorite love story
Hmm.
of all of them?
My favorite love story. Romeo and Juliet's coming to mind.
Yeah.
Just like you have all this societal pressure to fit into this box, right? And you may even choose a partner who's you have that spark and energetic connection with, but the world is kind of like pushing you away from that. And that's present in a lot of the love stories that happen today. Maybe not with two families trying to kill each other, but just with the understanding of like love always wins. And that is the ultimate prize, really, beyond all of the money making, and you have to have your health and you have to have your love. Other than that, what else is there?
Yeah. I've always thought in this world of helping people find intimacy and love and all of that, it's kind of like a bartender really shouldn't drink when they're on the clock because things could go south. They could get really dicey. Doing what you're doing, we're all human. Do you ever find yourself getting pulled into directions that you didn't think you were, or you're discovering things about your journey that you didn't feel like you were going to figure out? What are kind of the contrasts of being in this world that you're working in to help people find their place?
Sure, good question. Um, Well, there's this element of, I talked about this element of being charismatic and then that you needing to soften that so that people can stay in their choice. And I definitely had some experiences with that early on in my men's coaching career. There's a lot of challenges to the idea of men receiving support, especially from women who've been traumatized by men, and to stay kind of in my center as I experienced my first round of haters and people trying to point me in a different direction than is my life path was really powerful and humbling, actually, because I realized I didn't have it all figured out and there was more angles to this than I could have imagined. Um, and as a leader or someone who's holding space for a group of people who are figuring their shit out, we learned that you need to take this like step back away from the container where we have a guideline, a rule for our facilitators, where if you're holding space in a container of people connecting, that I'm not going to try to bring myself into that energy, because there's this power dynamic, right? People see you as the teacher, the leader, and they may make decisions because of that aren't in their best interest. So yeah, this evolution of, oh, it's no longer just about me and what I want. I want to create win-wins for everyone, and that involves kind of like slowing things down. And I'm a white man who's relatively good looking, and I didn't recognize that I had that came with a privilege, and that people may have trouble saying no to me. And that was a shock for me, from someone who thought he was, short and not attractive, and coming up from the upbringing that I had, to recognize like, oh wow, I really need to be aware of this. And it turns out that same level of awareness, no matter what you look like, really helps people to drop into trust, because they can feel that you don't have an agenda.
Yeah.
And I think that agenda is really present in a lot of dating coaching and a lot of pickup artistry work. And you're looking to get a certain outcome, right? And I have a very masculine brain. So I've always thought of, until, over the last 10 years of dating, like you're going to get something, you're going to arrive somewhere. And that has had to be really challenged over the years.
Yeah. I was 4'11" in high school, and I remember how big that
Wow.
was. It's
Wow.
huge, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's just, it shapes so much. And it's one of the reasons why I got into broadcasting. Like, if my body can't be big, I can make my voice, that kind of a thing. It's like this
Uh,
transference that you got to figure out. Um, so let me ask you this. Every day you wake up, you're changing lives. You're not just going into a job and then coming home. This is all entangled into everything that you do. It's probably hard to escape your work when you're not working, I would think, because you're so invested. You're dealing with human emotion. How
mhm.
do you keep yourself protected and grounded, do the best job that you can, take care of your soul and your agenda and your life? How does all of that holistically happen for you every day?
Yeah. Um, well, I am blessed to really enjoy my work. So I probably don't need as much of a break from my work than a lot of people do. A lot of my work involves being inspired and looking around my world and seeing what I want to talk about. And so I'm blessed in that way. But still, as humans, we wake up in the morning with this cortisol spike that evolutionarily was meant to get us out of the cave and start hunting and basically start stressing out as soon as you wake up. And so my partner and I have some really beautiful morning practices that we do, that we recommend to our clients as well. Breath work, meditation, really choosing my mindset in the morning. And we have all these modalities: EFT tapping and breath work and journaling. And so starting my day right, and using, we call it a magical morning practice, has been super important. And, my life's awesome. Like, I really can't complain when I want we build in a good amount of play into our life. Even our work is play. So having a good time has always been very important to me. I also love to dance. Once upon a time, I was a professional salsa dancer, and I still go out dancing very regularly. I went out last night. So, dancing is kind of like a physical and a spiritual outlet for me, and also a way of connecting with people and bringing my heart out to the surface. So, yeah, I don't skimp on having a good time, and I like to meet people, and I'm really feeling like what I'm doing is in very much alignment. So the burnout doesn't seem anywhere close for me right now.
So let's say you had a dream tonight. You ran into the 18-year-old version of you, and you walked into the room, and there was a film projector, and you clicked play, and there was a 60-second highlight reel of your life that you've lived, choices you've made. Would that young
Mhm.
version of you believe that your life turned out this way?
Um, I think that he would be very surprised, actually, at the unconditioned or the untraditional lifestyle that I've chosen. But we'd probably high five. We'd probably bond over how great it's going, and like I I certainly had ideas about where my life would go that would probably look a little more stable and a little more predictable, and um but I think I always knew that I was going to have a different life. My parents did, and um I never wanted to get stuck into the grind. Um so I think that he would be very happy and proud. I mean, yeah, I am very grateful for the sweetness of my life. So, yeah, we'd bond over how great it is right now.
So let me throw out a scenario to you right now. Full transparency. So, sometimes I just want to see what for I think men sometimes want to understand how women are thinking and have a better handle on things. So I just recently I downloaded, I listen to audiobooks. I just downloaded a romance novel. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, man, I thought dudes got heavy about how things went down. This is
Mm-hmm.
hardcore. And my question to you, the reason why I'm bringing this up is, do you think it's good for the opposite sex to delve into something that's typically not their realm or their arena to understand better certain facets of how the other side works? Do you think, because I think sometimes we get out of school and we think, oh, well, we graduated, we got our degree, we don't really have to do any of that hardcore learning anymore. But I think, especially in relationships, it's good to do that. Do you think those kinds of things are good to propagate and emotionally grow as a human as you get older?
Oh, of course. I mean, yeah, you probably got in some dirty stuff over in those like audiobooks
Oh man,
and the
it's
erotica that women listen to, and 100%. I think that it's important to dive into the psyche of people that are different from you in general, but you know, a lot of men in particular have this idea that like you're a man and you need to do the things that men do. But in reality, we are this meat suit that's evolved 300,000 years ago, and we're figuring stuff out as we go. And in reality, every person is their own mixture of masculine and feminine. And, a lot of men are very forced into really dominating with their masculine. And it's true that the majority of men have masculine dominant psyches, but that feminine aspect is inside all of us men in some degree or form. So it's not even like doing research about the other side. It's about doing research about yourself
yeah.
and really owning that, wow, I have some feminine essence to me. And that's beautiful. That gives you your intuition, and that gives you greater depth of feeling and understanding what's underneath the surface. And that emotional capacity is super important from a man's feminine side. So, there's a whole movement happening now where women are working through their masculine side and in becoming self-sufficient and making money and going to college more than men are now. And there's like this blending of masculine and feminine that's happening in society right now that I think if approached the right way and you don't lose yourself in it is really healthy for
Yeah.
sure.
So, of everything that you've done in your life and evolved to at this point, what are you ultimately the happiest about, the proudest of?
Hmm. I'm proudest that I developed into the type of grounded man that could call in my beautiful partner, actually. So she's definitely the best part of my life, the most inspiring part of my life. And um, I think that bringing her in is now like the culmination of my life's work, that I'm able to handle that level of true, honest communication. Like we don't hide anything from each other. We have a open phone policy. We share everything, and things come up, and we are able to regulate ourselves and talk through them and really design this life that we like, the perfect love life for ourselves. And I manifested that. Like before I met her, I was asking the universe for this very particular scenario that I'm now living in. And if I wasn't able to handle some of the tough conversations, the humility, um, to recognize that the version of myself that I wasn't worthy of this level of connection that I have now, and that couldn't handle it. So, yeah, that's probably my greatest accomplishment right now. And it's kind of like spreading into everything that I'm doing.
Right on. So, Ross, let's get to the real intersection of your soul right now. Everyone
Mm.
has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, everyone in your orbit, so to speak, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Hmm. Well, I am a man who likes to make the profane sacred and the sacred profane. I like to bring humor and lightness. I think this idea of spreading lightness is the biggest overarching theme in my life. I think when the world has more lightness and joy, you do need to experience the other side of that in order to be ready for that. But when the world experiences more lightness and joy, everything's easier for everyone. It creates a chain reaction in the world. And that's the closest that I can find to my life purpose at this point. But I know that I'm only here for another 60 years or so, and I want to have fun. I want to have a good time. I want to meet people, and I want to have amazing lovers and have a really rich life. So I think at the heart of it, I just like to explore. I like to explore my edges and find out what's working for me and what's not. And I'm enjoying the constant experiment that life is.
So, if anybody has questions, they want to reach out, they want to hire you, any of the good business, where do they go to do that?
Sure. I kind of have an outlet for my life on Instagram right now, which is embody.men, EMBDO, EMBODI .men, embody.men. And I also have a website, embodimen.com. And so this is a group of men that are working together to improve their love lives. And then my partner and I, for those who aren't men, we run a tantric temple around the world. It's located in Philly, called tantraphilly.com. So we have an email list of all of our events, and we throw a lot of tantric temples and connection events and workshops for people. So yeah, I'd say find me on Instagram, embody.men, and my website.
Right on. I love this. Thank you so much. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. Best of luck with everything. I really appreciate it.
All right, Joe. Thanks, man. Great questions, buddy.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.